Okay, so you've probably seen their stuff, right? At Target, all over your TikTok feed. But e.l.f. Beauty, it's way more than just a popular cosmetics brand. It's this business phenomenon that has Wall Street completely obsessed. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly how they do it. So to really get this, let's start here. Picture this. You're walking down a cosmetics aisle. You see a fancy prestige lipstick, $50. Then, right next to it, you see the e.l.f. version, basically a dupe of that exact same product, for $7. I mean, the price difference is it's staggering, right?
And that's the big question we're tackling here. How on earth does a company built on selling $7 lipstick become a Wall Street superstar? You know, a stock market darling with a valuation that's just gone through the roof. It feels like a total paradox, doesn't it?
All right, so Section 1, the $7 lipstick paradox. We're going to be unpacking a stock market enigma. And, to really get e.l.f.'s incredible rise, we've got to start with who they are at their core and their absolutely wild ride on the stock market.
So, first off, what does e.l.f. even stand for? It's eyes, lips, face. Simple enough. And the company was started, over 2 decades ago now, with this really simple but kind of genius and disruptive idea. Find the hottest, trendiest products from those super expensive brands, and then make really good, stylish alternatives that people can actually afford.
But if you were an investor, this has been a total roller coaster. I mean, look at this. They go public in 2016 at $17 a share. Great. But then just 2 years later, bam, the stock gets chopped in half. Then it goes on this insane run, rocketing up to over $200 before kind of settling back down around $120. This up and down, this volatility is really at the heart of the e.l.f. enigma.
Okay, next up, Gen Z runs the company. And this is huge. The secret to e.l.f.'s success isn't just who they sell to, it's also about who works there. So what is the secret sauce here? Well, the first big piece of the puzzle, it isn't just about who's buying their stuff. It's about who's actually running the show.
Okay, check this out. What's so wild here is how perfectly the team inside e.l.f. looks just like their customers. Their workforce is overwhelmingly female, right? And get this, 76% are Gen Z and millennial. So the people who are actually making the products are the exact same people who are using them. They are literally their own focus group.
And this quote just says it all about their company culture. It's from their CEO, Tarang Amin. He's 60 years old, and he's the first to admit his own social media game is, and I quote, woefully inadequate. But he surrounded himself with a team that just gets it. He says, "My chief marketing officer sometimes terrorizes me by dragging me on TikTok Live." You just gotta love that. It perfectly captures that dynamic, right?
And here's the absolute key takeaway from all this. For e.l.f., social media isn't just about shouting into the void, it's not just a marketing tool, it's a listening tool. Their team is so plugged in, we're talking TikTok, Instagram, even Roblox, that they use all that real-time chatter to decide what to make next. The community is literally their compass.
All right, new section from TikTok to Target. And this subtitle says it all, how e.l.f. turns online buzz into on-the-shelf reality at lightning speed. Because look, it's one thing to listen to what your community wants, right? It's a whole other thing to actually act on it. And this is where e.l.f.'s speed, their incredible speed, becomes the second key to their dominance.
Okay, let me give you a perfect example, the bronzing drops. The team is doing a TikTok live, and the comments just blow up. Everyone is demanding a cheaper dupe for this fancy $38 product. So the CEO, Tarang Amin, he challenges the team. And they take what is normally a 3-year development cycle and they crush it down to just 6 months. 6! And boom, a $9 alternative hits the shelves and just flies out the door. That right there, that's the e.l.f. playbook. So you have to ask, does this whole speed thing actually translate to sales? Yeah, absolutely. Just look at Target. That was their very first big retail partner. e.l.f. has a massive 21% market share in its category there. Most of their competitors are stuck under 10%. So this isn't just some online buzz, This is real-world aisle-dominating success. And their social media listening game is so good, it actually beats local experts on the ground. Get this story. They call it the Italian job. They're expanding into Italy with this retailer Douglas Cosmetics. And Douglas tells them, hey, primers aren't a big thing here.
You should probably drop your Power Grip primer. But the team at e.l.f. is seeing all this chatter on local Italian social media. So they're like, you know what? Let's just keep it in as a test. And guess what? It became the store's #1 selling product. So yeah, turns out Italians do use primer.
Okay, but it's not all smooth sailing. We have to talk about the China tariff challenge. This is a huge geopolitical headwind that really threatens the whole e.l.f. model. Because, every great story has a conflict, and for e.l.f., that conflict is big-time geopolitics, specifically tariffs on goods from China.
And this is the number that has to keep their executives up at night. 30%. That's the tariff rate on a lot of Chinese goods. And that's where e.l.f. makes most of its stuff. A 30% tax is a direct, massive hit to their costs, and it threatens the one thing their entire brand is built on, being affordable.
So it puts them in this really tough spot. I mean, the math is simple, and it's brutal. When your costs suddenly jump that much because of tariffs, you really only have two choices, right? You either eat the cost yourself and just destroy your profit margins, or you raise your prices and risk ticking off your entire community. And, well, e.l.f. has been forced to raise prices.
But here's another one of those e.l.f. paradoxes. The last time they had to do this, back in 2022, they raised prices by about 6 or 7%. And something totally nuts happened. Their sales growth didn't slow down. It actually accelerated in the next few quarters. It's like, I guess when your lipstick goes from $7 to $8, it's still a heck of a bargain compared to that $50 one.
So let's talk about Wall Street's bull case. Despite all the risks, here's why so many analysts are still optimistic. And that resilience we just talked about, that's a huge reason why. Even with the tariff risks and the crazy stock swings, a lot of people on Wall Street are still incredibly bullish on e.l.f.'s future. So let's break down their argument.
First, you just have to look at their track record. 26. That's the number of quarters in a row that e.l.f. has grown its market share. We're talking 6.5 straight years of just relentless, nonstop growth. I mean, that kind of consistency in the consumer world, it's practically unheard of. And they are not resting on their laurels, not at all. Their next big goal? $3 billion. That's what they're aiming for in annual sales. To put that in perspective, that's more than double what they did just last year. This is not a company that's playing defense. They are all out on offense. And it's not just them saying it. Wall Street thinks they can actually do it. Even after you factor in all the money they're spending to expand, analysts are still predicting a massive 25% return to earnings growth for the next fiscal year. That's a huge number. Yeah, and you've got top analysts just lining up to praise them. You've got Olivia Tong at Raymond James, who basically says their ability to sell just as well in a high-end place like Sephora as they do in a Dollar General is just incredible. And then there's Dharma Holsinian over at Morgan Stanley, who thinks Wall Street's predictions are still way too conservative. And a huge part of that optimism comes down to their big strategic moves, like their recent $1 billion, yes, billion with a B, acquisition of the super trendy skincare brand Rhode. This just shows they're not a one-trick pony. They're taking their playbook and expanding into new, more expensive categories, all to set up that next big chapter of growth.
And all of this, it really leaves us with one big, fascinating final question. e.l.f. has built this absolute powerhouse by doing two things: putting its community at the absolute center of everything they do, from making products to marketing them, and then just executing on it all at lightning speed. So the question is this the new model? Is this playbook the future for how all successful consumer brands are going to have to operate from now on? It's definitely something to think about.